The real test of AI isn't cruising in a straight line, it's what happens when the road turns, trike the weight shifts, and things get unpredictable. That's where weaker setups start to show their limits. Today, we're breaking down 7 Harley-Davidson trikes that experienced riders actually trust. Stick around, because the one at the top completely changes what people expect from a trike. Number 7. Harley-Davidson Servi-Car. Most riders picture Harley trikes one way: comfortable, wide, built for easy highway miles. But that image came much later, because the roots of Harley's trikes, they're a lot more raw than most people expect. And this is where it all begins: the Servi-Car. And this thing wasn't built to cruise, it was built to work. Back in the early 1930s, Harley-Davidson needed a machine that could take abuse and keep going. Police departments, city services, small business owners, they all needed something reliable, compact, and tough enough to handle daily punishment. And here's the kicker: this wasn't just a motorcycle with an extra wheel slapped on. Harley built this as a true 3-wheel platform from day one. Fixed rear axle, mechanical differential, a fully integrated cargo box sitting right behind the rider. Everything had a purpose. Nothing was there for show. No chrome for attention. No comfort features to soften the ride. Just raw mechanical function, and it worked. This machine stayed in production for over 4 decades. Think about that for a second. Most bikes don't even make it a few years without major redesigns. This one kept going for generations. That doesn't happen by accident. That happens when a machine proves itself day after day under real pressure. Now here's where things get interesting. You throw a leg over this today, and it immediately feels different. Very different. If this is exactly the kind of breakdown you've been looking for, hit that like button. It keeps us bringing you deeper. No BS comparisons riders actually need. Power comes from a flathead V-twin. Low compression, simple design. Built to last, not to impress. It's not fast, it's steady, predictable. But the real challenge is how this thing handles. Most of the weight sits behind you. The rear is rigid. There's no leaning into corners, no smooth modern geometry helping you out. You steer it, you manage it, you respect it. And if you don't, it'll let you know real quick. There's zero forgiveness here. No rider aids, no hidden safety nets. This machine doesn't cover your mistakes. It exposes them, and honestly, that's exactly why experienced riders respect it so much, because riding this teaches you something modern. Trikes don't. Control, awareness, mechanical understanding. Now let me ask you, have you ever even seen one of these in real life? Because today, you're not walking into a dealership and picking one up. These live in collections, in restoration shops, in the hands of people who know exactly what they're looking at. Rough ones still show up, but they need work. Clean ones, they demand attention. And fully restored examples, especially original service bikes, sit at the top end of the market. But price isn't the point here. What matters is what this machine started. It proved a Harley trike could be practical, durable, capable of real work. And it demanded something from the rider in return: skill, focus, respect, no comfort layers, no shortcuts, just you and the machine. And that's something most modern trikes have slowly moved away from. The Servi-Car proves where Harley's 3-wheel journey began: raw, functional, and built for utility. But for an experienced rider, history alone isn't enough. There's no modern control, no refined handling, and none of the stability you expect at real-world speeds. That gap forces a step forward toward the next machine, where riders start demanding modern structure, even if the solution still carries its own compromises. Number 6. Street Glide trike conversions. This is where things take a different turn. Trikes aren't always born on a factory floor. Some of them are built after the fact, shaped by the people who ride them. And that's exactly what you're looking at here: a Street Glide, reworked into something completely different. Now, the base bike already carries weight in the Harley lineup. The Street Glide has always been about strong highway performance, steady torque, and that unmistakable touring presence. With the Milwaukee 8 engine under it, power delivery feels smooth and controlled, especially when you're covering long distance. On 2 wheels, it's composed, predictable, easy to settle into. The moment you convert it, that balance shifts. A proper build doesn't just bolt parts on, it replaces the entire rear section. You're looking at a new axle system, a differential to split power, upgraded braking, and a reinforced frame to handle the load. Some setups go further, adding independent rear suspension to keep things more stable under pressure. And for anyone who's handled a heavy touring bike before, a reverse system quickly becomes less of a luxury and more of a necessity. Now here's where the real difference shows up. The added mass sits behind the rider, changing how the machine reacts in motion. Up front, that batwing fairing stays mounted to the handlebars. So at speed, every input you make is direct. There's no buffering it. That combination, front control and rear weight, demands attention. Corners take planning. Braking needs timing. And the overall feel depends heavily on how well the build was done. That's the part most riders don't think about. These aren't identical machines rolling off a single production line. Each one reflects the choices behind it. Some are dialed in, others feel off the moment you push them. So let me ask you, would you take a custom-built setup like this out on a long ride, or do you prefer something straight from the factory? Drop your experience in the comments because that decision says a lot about the kind of rider you are. Now, when it comes to cost, this is where reality sets in. You're starting with a premium touring motorcycle, then adding a high-end conversion system, plus labor and customization. The total investment climbs quickly into serious territory. On the used market, pricing varies widely, depending on build quality, component choice, and overall condition. But unlike standard motorcycles, these don't follow a simple depreciation curve. Value depends on execution. Done right, they hold strong. Done poorly, they don't. And that's exactly why this ranks here. Because what you're getting isn't just a trike. You're getting a platform shaped by decisions, engineering choices, component quality, and rider intent. It blends proven touring performance with aftermarket innovation, but it also introduces inconsistency that factory machines avoid. The Street Glide conversion brings real touring comfort into the trike world. You get the familiar riding position, the storage, the long-distance capability. It checks the boxes riders expect from a premium touring platform, but the design carries over one key trait that matters more on three wheels than it does on two. The fairing is mounted directly to the handlebars. That means every input you make, every small correction, and every external force, especially wind, feeds straight into the steering. At lower speeds, it feels manageable, even predictable, but as speed builds, that connection becomes more noticeable. Wind pressure does not just hit the bike, it interacts with your steering inputs. And once you notice that front-end behavior, you can't ignore it. That exact friction point is what drives riders toward the next direction, where the same platform evolves into something far more stable when engineered correctly. Number 5. Road Glide Trike Conversions. You want highway stability that doesn't fade when the speed climbs. You want steering that stays composed when the wind starts pushing back. And more importantly, you want a trike that doesn't fight you when the road stops being perfect. That's exactly where the Harley-Davidson Road Glide enters the conversation, but not in its standard form. Because once this platform is converted into a trike, it becomes something far more calculated, something built around control, not just comfort. And the reason starts with one critical design choice: the fairing. Unlike handlebar-mounted setups, the Road Glide uses a frame-mounted shark nose fairing. That means wind pressure doesn't push against your steering inputs. At higher speeds, that difference becomes immediately noticeable. The handlebars stay calmer, the front end tracks cleaner, and the rider expends less effort just keeping the machine pointed where it needs to go. On two wheels, that's already an advantage. On three wheels, it becomes essential, because a trike doesn't lean into corners. It relies entirely on steering precision. Any instability in the front translates directly into rider fatigue and constant correction. The Road Glide platform eliminates that issue at its source. Now layer in the conversion. This is where engineering takes over. A proper trike build replaces the entire rear section with a dedicated system, often sourced from premium manufacturers. And these setups introduce a wider rear stance, a differential to manage power delivery, and in higher-end builds, independent rear suspension that keeps both wheels planted over uneven pavement. The result is not cosmetic, it's structural. You get improved lateral stability in sweeping turns, better traction when rolling on the throttle, and a chassis that feels composed under load instead of unsettled. But here's where experienced riders pay attention. Real-world conditions, crosswinds, imperfect asphalt, long high-speed sweepers that demand consistency over time. This is where the Road Glide trike conversion separates itself. It holds direction without constant input. It responds predictably when you make adjustments, and it reduces the small corrections that wear you down over distance. That's not marketing language, that's mechanical behavior. Now let's talk about what moves all of this. Most builds rely on the Milwaukee 8 platform, engines known for strong, accessible torque. And torque is exactly what matters here. Once converted, you're dealing with a significantly heavier machine, and that low-end pull is what keeps acceleration smooth and manageable. Not explosive, not abrupt, just controlled, usable power. On the pricing side, this sits firmly in premium territory. You're combining a high-end touring motorcycle with a full conversion system and professional installation. The total investment reflects that, and on the used market, value depends heavily on how well the build was executed. Quality matters here more than anything else, because unlike factory machines, there's no universal standard. And that leads directly to why it sits at number 5. Because while this setup delivers exceptional stability, long-distance composure, and a level of customization factory trikes can't fully match, it also introduces complexity. Build quality varies, setup matters. And at lower speeds, the steering can feel heavier than more refined, purpose-built alternatives. It rewards understanding, it expects experience, and when handled correctly, it delivers. But as we move higher, things start tightening up, because the next machine removes that variability and replaces it with factory precision, controlled engineering, and a completely different approach to long-distance riding. If you've ever dealt with a custom build that didn't quite feel right, tell us in the comments what was off: suspension, balance, geometry, because those details are exactly what separate a good build from the next level. Number 4, the Harley-Davidson CVO Tri Glide. You've outgrown basic touring machines. You're no longer chasing comfort alone. You want something that feels deliberate, engineered, and complete before it ever leaves the factory. That's exactly where the Harley-Davidson CVO Tri Glide comes in. This thing isn't just built, it's dialed in by Harley's custom vehicle operations team. Every part, every system, everything works together. No mismatched components, no aftermarket guessing. Now here's where it really separates itself. Let's talk engine first. This machine runs the Milwaukee 8 121, and that's a big deal. Not because of bragging rights, but because of how it actually feels on the road. You roll on the throttle and it just pulls. Smooth, steady, no drama. That torque is what moves a heavy trike properly. Whether you're climbing hills, riding 2 up, or loaded down for a long trip, it never feels like it's struggling. And trust me, on a machine this size, that matters more than anything. Now step into the chassis. This is based on the Harley-Davidson Tri Glide Ultra platform, but taken to a higher level. This isn't a bike turned into a trike later. It's built as a trike from day one. That means the frame, rear end, and suspension are all designed to work together. Out on the road, that gives you something a lot of conversions just don't have: predictability. It stays planted, it stays stable. And when you hit the brakes, all 3 wheels work together instead of fighting each other. Here's the kicker: the steering feel stays consistent. Whether you're cruising slow through town or picking up speed on the highway, it doesn't suddenly feel heavy or twitchy. That kind of balance is hard to get right. And when it comes to comfort, this thing really leans in. Up front, you've got that batwing fairing, similar to the Harley-Davidson Street Glide, but refined. Wind hits it and goes around you, not into you. Add heated seats, premium suspension, and a full control system. And yes, this thing is built for long hauls. Hours in the saddle feel easier. And when you're comfortable, you stay focused longer. Simple as that. In terms of price, this sits right at the top. New, you're looking at somewhere between $50,000 and $60,000. Used, still strong. These things hold value because they're limited and always in demand. The CVO Tri Glide delivers undeniable presence, premium finishes, top-tier comfort, and exclusivity at every level. But strip away the luxury and the core riding dynamics remain unchanged. For experienced riders, that raises a question. What if you trade excess for connection? What if you remove the layers and feel the road again? That question leads directly to the next answer: a trike that brings the rider back into the center of the experience. Number 3, Harley-Davidson Freewheeler. There comes a point where experience stops adding features and starts removing anything that gets between the rider and the machine. Not luxury, not power, pure control. And that is exactly where the Harley-Davidson Freewheeler finds its purpose, because this trike does not follow the same blueprint as the fully loaded touring models. It takes a deliberate step back, removing the front fairing, trimming excess weight, and lowering the entire stance of the chassis. The result is not just a stripped-down design, it is a more connected riding platform. At its core sits the Milwaukee 8 114 engine. This powertrain is engineered for immediate torque delivery, not high revving output. On a 3-wheeled setup, that distinction matters. You are managing more weight, more resistance, and a different kind of momentum. The Freewheeler responds with steady, predictable thrust that feels controlled at low speeds and confident as you build pace. But the real advantage reveals itself in how the machine is balanced. The Freewheeler sits lower than most Harley-Davidson trikes, giving it a center of gravity that feels grounded rather than elevated. In real-world riding, this translates into smoother, low-speed handling, easier directional changes, and less physical effort from the rider. Instead of wrestling with the machine, you guide it. That difference becomes clear the moment you compare it to something like the Harley-Davidson Tri Glide in Ultra. The Tri Glide Ultra is designed for long-distance travel. It carries a large batwing fairing, integrated touring systems, and more structural weight up front. That setup delivers highway comfort, but it also adds mass that affects steering behavior. Inputs become heavier, and transitions require more effort. The Freewheeler avoids that by keeping the front end lighter and more responsive. Without a handlebar-mounted fairing, the steering feels more direct. There is less resistance through the bars and more feedback from the road surface. You can feel the chassis shift as you move through corners. It requires attention, but it rewards precision. From a pricing perspective, the Freewheeler also sits in a strong position. New models typically range from around $31,000 to $34,000 depending on configuration. On the used market, most examples fall between $18,000 and $28,000. That places it within reach for riders who want a capable trike without stepping into full touring territory. Its mechanical simplicity adds another layer of appeal. With fewer electronic systems and less complexity overall, maintenance becomes more manageable. For experienced riders, that means fewer complications and a machine that remains easy to understand over time. Of course, there are compromises. Wind protection is limited. Long highway rides demand more endurance. Storage capacity is reduced compared to touring-focused models, but that is by design. The Freewheeler gives you that raw connected feel, lighter front end, more direct steering, and zero isolation from the road. But that same simplicity becomes a limitation the moment distance enters the equation. Long rides demand more support, more storage, more protection. And when experienced riders start pushing beyond short bursts, their priorities shift. That shift naturally points to the next step forward, where comfort and endurance take control of the design. Number 2, the Harley-Davidson Tri Glide Ultra. This isn't a stripped-down cruiser or a playful weekend machine. This is a full-scale touring system built for riders who measure performance in miles, not moments. At the heart of it sits the Milwaukee 8 114 engine. But here's the difference. It's not tuned to feel aggressive. It's tuned to feel steady. You roll into the throttle, and instead of a sudden surge, you get a smooth, controlled push forward. It holds its pace. It doesn't hunt for speed. It maintains it. And when you're riding long distances, that kind of consistency matters more than anything. Now let's talk about what really defines this machine, its weight and how it's used. Yes, it's heavier than something like the Harley-Davidson Freewheeler, but here's the thing. That weight isn't a weakness, it's part of the design. With a longer wheelbase and a wide rear stance, this trike feels planted. At highway speeds, it settles in and stays stable. Where lighter setups can feel reactive, this one feels composed. It tracks straight. It holds its line. It gives you confidence. Now look at the front. The batwing fairing, similar in concept to the Harley-Davidson Street Glide, does more than block wind. It manages airflow around you, reducing buffeting and fatigue. And if you've ever done long rides, you already know that's not just comfort, that's endurance. Add in full storage, passenger support, and an integrated control system, and you start to see the bigger picture. This isn't just a ride. It's a platform built to carry everything, gear, passenger, and distance without breaking rhythm. Now pricing reflects that. New models usually land between $42,000 and $48,000. Used options still hold strong, often sitting between the mid-20s and high 30s, depending on condition. And if you want to support us even more, become a member, get early access to the newest builds and breakdowns before anyone else. The Tri Glide Ultra dominates in comfort, massive storage, full protection, and a ride built for endless miles. But experienced riders don't just measure comfort, they measure control. And at higher speeds, weight and fairing design begin to influence how the machine responds. That's the subtle boundary where touring excellence meets its limit. And it's exactly that boundary that leads to the next machine, the one engineered not just to carry you far, but to stay composed no matter how fast you get there. Number 1, Harley-Davidson Road Glide 3. At a certain level of experience, the question changes. It is no longer about comfort alone. It becomes about completeness. Which machine delivers control, stability, and endurance as a single, unified system? That is where the Harley-Davidson Road Glide 3 takes the top position. Its advantage begins with one critical engineering decision: the fairing. Unlike handlebar-mounted designs, the Road Glide 3 uses a frame-mounted shark nose fairing. That separation means wind forces no longer interfere with steering input. At highway speeds, the handlebars remain steady, requiring fewer corrections and delivering cleaner, more precise control, especially in crosswinds. Pair that with a Milwaukee 8 114 engine and the result is a trike that feels composed under acceleration and stable at sustained speed. Power delivery works with the chassis, not against it. Weight distribution further reinforces that balance. While it shares touring DNA with the Tri Glide Ultra, the front-end design shifts how the mass is felt: more centered, more neutral, more predictable during lane changes and directional inputs. Pricing reflects its position at the top, with new models typically ranging from the low $40,000 range up to the high $40,000 range in used examples, holding strong due to demand. But what truly defines it is behavior under real conditions. Wind, distance, speed, everything feels controlled. It is not the easiest machine at low speeds. It demands experience. And that is exactly the point. Because this is not just a trike. It is the standard everything else is measured against. If this video made you rethink what a trike should actually feel like at speed, the next ride gets even deeper into machines that push limits you didn't even know existed. Click the next video and keep the road moving. Subscribe and join the riders who don't settle. Don't forget to like this video, and we'll see you in the next ride.